Today, my sons were supposed to throw me a 60th birthday celebration, so we headed to the upscale restaurant run by my eldest son and his wife. But we canceled because it was too extravagant, said Louise, my son's wife, who had unilaterally decided to cancel my eagerly awaited 60th birthday celebration. Amidst everyone's fury, "Maybe we should shut this place down," was the first thing out of my husband's mouth. Louise, shocked by my husband's unexpected remark, was about to witness a disaster unfold. My name is Annabelle, and I turned 60 this year. My husband, Garrick, owns several companies. We have 3 sons, and we're very proud of them. Leroy, who runs the high-end restaurant, Willard, who's recently been happy about his sales achievements, and Jesse, who manages a store selling his favorite vintage clothes. The boys are doing well, and as parents, we're delighted. Raised by the gentle Garrick and peace-loving me, they've remained close as adults, meeting several times a month for enjoyable gatherings, which, as a mom, makes me smile. But little did I know that discord would strike among these 3. Today, the 3 brothers were to gather at our family home, chat, eat, and drink. Unfortunately, Garrick couldn't join due to work commitments. Although it was a pity, Louise, Leroy's wife, who is 13 years younger and seldom visits our home, was going to attend. Leroy met Louise at the restaurant he runs, where she was working part-time. He fell for her at first sight and pursued her relentlessly until they started dating. Last year, they got married. Honestly, I was very worried, thinking, they have such an age gap. Will their marriage work? But seeing Leroy talk about their meeting, he looked so happy that I sincerely hoped as a parent, I want them to be happy together. But I had no idea about her true nature. If I had known, I would never have approved of their marriage. Today, I'm going to find out who she really is. 3 p.m. It's been a while since I've been home. Just saw Big Brother over there, so we came together. You guys are late. Returning home, the 3 brothers enjoyed a lively conversation. Meanwhile, Louise stood quietly behind Leroy. "Louise, I wanted to see you." I tried to include Louise in our conversation. "Thank you, I'm glad to be here." Louise smiled and entered our home. We then laid out food and drinks on the table, and the party started. While the brothers' laughter filled the air, Louise seemed out of place. I was happy to hear Louise was coming today. You know, I'm usually the only woman at these gatherings. Let's have a chat, just us girls, shall we? Louise, only 24 years old, must feel uncomfortable in this situation, I said, considering her feelings. "Thank you," she replied. So I struck up a conversation with Louise, curious why she decided to join a gathering she usually avoids. "I really love Leroy. When he goes to these gatherings, I feel so lonely. I just thought," Louise confessed. I immediately felt sorry for making her feel this way. I thought it was heartwarming to see the brothers getting along well, but Leroy is a married man. I quickly apologized to Louise for not being more considerate of her. "I'm sorry, Louise. You're right. It was thoughtless of us to make you feel lonely." Then Louise said, "That's why I came today, to talk about this directly." "Eh? A direct discussion? About this? With me?" Thinking this, I was about to tell Louise, "I'll suggest to the brothers to reduce the number of their gatherings." But at that moment, "Excuse me, but can we stop having these gatherings? Unlike you, Leroy is married, and it's unpleasant to leave his wife alone while the 3 of you meet. And even though I came here, you just ignored me and kept talking among yourselves. Can't you consider my feelings a bit more?" I understood Louise's point, but her harsh tone was off-putting. And then, "Hey, Louise, it was wrong of us not to pay attention to you, but that's no way to talk. Apologize to them." Leroy was furious. Well, maybe we weren't considerate of Louise's feelings. Sorry, Louise." Willard, the second son, quickly apologized. "I'm sorry, Louise." Jesse followed with an apology. This is seriously upsetting. I'm leaving." Louise said her piece and started to leave. The atmosphere soured, and the gathering disbanded within 10 minutes. Everyone began to prepare to leave when Louise added, "Oh, by the way, you 2 might think Leroy loves you, but he's always bad-mouthing you at home, you know. And yet, here you are, drinking together like normal, pretending to be buddies? Hilarious! With that, she left first. What? What is she talking about? I would never talk badly about you guys. Although it was clear that Louise's claims were false, it was puzzling why she would say such a thing. I mean, I know it's a lie, but it's weird to say something so unpleasant on purpose. Willard was perplexed by Louise's motives. Probably she just doesn't like us, even though we haven't really interacted much, Jessie concluded. I'm really sorry. It was wrong of Louise. Leroy apologized. The day ended with an awkward atmosphere. A rift formed between the three brothers. Even though knowing Louise's claim about bad-mouthing was a lie, sometimes they couldn't help but wonder if there was some truth to it. Jessie, the youngest and most affectionate, who had always been close to Leroy since childhood, was particularly fearful of betrayal. I get where Louise is coming from. It's normal to feel bad about having her married brother over for parties several times a month, but still, the way she said it made me angry. Willard expressed his hostility towards Louise. I tried to support the two, but despite my efforts, the brothers never gathered again. Garrick and I discussed it, and he empathized with Louise's feelings but lamented the discord between the once close-knit brothers. As we talked, we realized something. Could it be that Louise's aim was to sow discord among the brothers? Was that why she said such things? While appalled at the thought, we also wondered why she would want to drive a wedge between them. Louise. About that. I decided to find out the truth by arranging a meeting with her. However, it's a busy time for the shop, so I really can't leave, she replied. Indeed, Leroy's restaurant was always busy during this season. What about before the shop opens? Is that difficult? Leroy's restaurant operated from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Despite the preparation work, there should be some free time in the morning. I asked, hoping to find a suitable time. I'm really busy before the shop opens, you know. There's housework and such. And from 4 p.m., I have to help with the prep. Meeting with me is impossible. Louise brushed me off. So, can I ask you a few things over the phone right now? Well, okay. Thus, I asked Louise over the phone about that day. She said, I truly am sorry, but when Leroy goes back to his parents' house, I feel so lonely. And when he returns home, he's always in such a good mood. I started thinking maybe he enjoys spending time with his brothers more than me. I was honestly jealous. Hearing Louise's feelings, I realized she truly loved Leroy. But her extreme jealousy surprised me. I was happy to know my son was loved, yet saddened that her jealousy created tension and discomfort for my children. But I too was at fault for not being more considerate of Louise. As I pondered what to say next, Louise dropped a bombshell. To be honest, I wish you hadn't given birth to those two. What? What did she just say? I was shocked and confused by her startling statement. So I wanted to mess up the relationship between the three of them. That way, Leroy would only have eyes for me forever, right? I'm glad my plan worked so well. Now I can have Leroy all to myself. This was beyond simple jealousy. Was she a villainess? Louise, what did you just... I asked her again, unable to comprehend her words. She replied, So Leroy is mine now, and I'd like it if his brothers, you and Garrick, kept their distance forever. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Before I could respond, she said, Goodbye, and hung up. I tried calling her back several times, but she kept saying, There's nothing to talk about, and hung up. I was at a loss and decided to inform Leroy, but he texted, I'm driving to the shop right now, is it urgent? And didn't answer my calls. I wanted to talk about a few things. I'll call when you're free, I replied. It's difficult to talk with busy Leroy. If things continue this way, I might really lose all contact with him. The three brothers drifting apart. Leroy is married after all. Maybe that's just how it should be. However, something inside me kept saying, this can't go on. I can't let this woman have her way. Before I knew it, I found myself in front of Leroy's house. I knew it was odd to do this and that I might look like a crazy mom who can't let go of her grown children. But my heart was restless. I rang Leroy's doorbell. It was only 2:30 p.m. Louise, busy with housework, should have been home. but no one answered. Maybe she went shopping? I decided to leave, but on my way back, I saw something unbelievable. I was so shocked I couldn't comprehend it. Amidst swirling emotions and wondering what to do next, my phone vibrated. It was Jessie. "What's up?" I answered. Jessie said, "I've been thinking. I hate that things are awkward between the brothers, so I talked to Willard and we plan to meet at Leroy's restaurant." It seemed that while I was worrying, they were trying to rebuild their relationship. "If we meet at Leroy's place, Louise won't feel bad, right? We're not just going to talk to Leroy. We can help his sales," Jessie reasoned. Then Jessie made another suggestion. "Next month is your 60th birthday, right? If we gather for that, Leroy would be really happy. His restaurant is famous for celebrations." My 60th birthday. I was touched but hesitant about letting my children spend money. Jessie insisted. "What are you talking about? It's normal to celebrate the parents who raised us. Let's do a grand celebration for your 60th. We did the same for Dad, right? Now it's your turn." Convinced by his words, I agreed. So next month, we decided to gather at Leroy's restaurant. Willard called to explain the situation, and they quickly agreed. Leroy apologized to me. He wants the three brothers to be close again, and we promised to celebrate your birthday in a big way. If the three brothers could reconcile at my 60th birthday celebration, it would be the best present for me. While keeping Louise in the back of my mind, I hoped for the restoration of their brotherhood. Then came the day of my 60th birthday celebration. I met up with Willard and Jessie and headed to Leroy's restaurant. Garrick was going to be a little late due to work. As the three of us entered the restaurant, "Welcome. Oh." Louise greeted us, but as she stared at us, she said, Sorry, but I've canceled today's 60th birthday celebration because it's too extravagant." "What? Canceled because it's extravagant?" I didn't understand. "What do you mean canceled, Louise?" Willard retorted. Louise responded, "Well, I did warn you, didn't I? Not to gather the three brothers. And now a 60th birthday celebration for Annabelle at our restaurant? No way. This is a high-end restaurant, you know. It's utterly extravagant for people who just usually hang out and eat at home. Please, continue to make noise at home. Of course, without Leroy." I didn't expect her to say such sarcastic things. I couldn't stand her sarcasm any longer and decided to confront Louise about that matter right there. Just then, maybe we should just shut down this restaurant. "Huh?" Garrick, who had arrived late, muttered that. Is Garrick here too?" Louise was visibly shaken, apparently thinking Garrick wasn't around when she made her earlier comments. No, I mean..." Louise stumbled over her words. Then Leroy arrived from the back and said, "Hey, what's with that remark just now? I've been preparing Mom's dishes for today, and now you say it's canceled? Are you crazy? The cost of the ingredients isn't a joke. Do you want to ruin our restaurant?" "No, I mean..." "All right, I get it, Louise. You've made your point. Should we shut down the restaurant then?" Leroy was furious. Garrick added, "Louise, you know I'm the owner of this restaurant, right? I won't tolerate behavior that demeans my family. Is having a 60th birthday celebration here too extravagant? Sure, the prices of our dishes are high. In that case, if the restaurant itself is a luxury, maybe we should shut it down. And of course, we'll let all our customers know it was Louise's idea." Indeed, Garrick owned Leroy's restaurant, which Louise certainly knew. She must have made her bold comments thinking Garrick wasn't there. If Garrick decided to close it, the restaurant would be done for. However, both Garrick and Leroy seemed too enraged to be thinking clearly. Well, it's not unreasonable for Garrick, usually quite mild-mannered, to be this angry. "Let's not stand here talking. Can we go inside the restaurant? I have a few things I want to discuss today." I urged Garrick and Leroy to enter, hoping to calm them down. "All right, let's at least get some drinks." The restaurant was empty since it was still early. We sat down inside and sipped on tea and coffee. Although there was still some tension, the anger from before seemed to have subsided. At this moment, I distributed some documents and photos to everyone. "What's this?" "Hey, what? Why is this here? Wait, This is a misunderstanding." While the brothers were shocked, Louise was the only one panicking, and for good reason. The photo showed Louise intimately close to another man, including images of them entering a hotel and kissing. What's the meaning of this? In fact, when I was leaving Leroy's house previously, I had spotted Louise with a man. They didn't notice me, so I followed them discreetly. They went into a hotel, still in close contact. Weren't you busy with housework during this time? How can you claim to love Leroy so much and be jealous of his brothers, yet do something so despicable? I became even more perplexed by Louise and immediately consulted Garrick. Understood. Let's hire a detective agency. Following Garrick's suggestion, we hired a detective agency to investigate Louise. So you pretended to love Leroy so much, thinking your infidelity would never be discovered by his family or him, right? The detective agency reported that they overheard Louise and the man talking during dinner. They were even discussing what to do when Leroy dies. Dies? Apparently, Louise wanted to distance Leroy from his brothers now so that she could inherit everything if Leroy passed away. She married Leroy, who was older and owned a high-end restaurant, for this reason. Garrick, being the owner and considering his age, might not have much time left, so she thought the restaurant would eventually become Leroy's. Her outward affection was actually a cover for her sinister intentions. This can't be true. Everyone was speechless, and Louise's face turned pale. "Get out of here. Stay away from my brother." "What do you think of my brother?" Willard and Jesse were understandably furious. "It's not like that, really. He was just a fling. Leroy is the only one I truly love. I'm not after his inheritance. Besides, there's no proof." Louise desperately tried to deny it. When Louise attempted to fabricate her story, I mentioned, the detective recorded it. I played the voice recording of Louise's conversation. "Serious about him? No way. When I was worried about not having money, the guy who runs the place where I was working started showing interest in me. Creepy, right? But he runs a high-end restaurant, and he's the son of the owner. I figured he had money, so I made sure he totally fell for me. Then his restaurant would be mine in the future." This was the second time I had heard this recording. Hearing it again made me incredibly angry. A woman spoke about my son like that. "Hey, cut it out. You're calling someone creepy? Look at yourself." Willard and Jesse shouted in their anger. Strangely, Leroy, the main victim, was calm. "Eh?" Until he suddenly threw his coffee at Louise. "Are you mocking me? Huh?" Leroy confronted Louise with a powerful, low voice. You asked to delay your work hours because you had to do housework, right? What housework? Were you delaying work just to do such lousy things? Don't mess around." Louise stammered, seemingly frightened, occasionally showing tears. "Bring that guy here now. If you run, I'll chase you to the ends of the earth, got it?" "Yes," Louise replied, terrified, and enraged Leroy. An hour later, Louise brought the man she was cheating with. "You two will pay me a large sum in damages. And Louise, you're fired, and we're getting a divorce." Leroy shouted. Louise, crying, pleaded, "I'm sorry, it's not like that." The man remained silent, looking down the whole time. Willard and Jesse also lectured Louise and the man. As if to add insult to injury, the two who were already feeling dejected. "Oh, by the way, Marlon, was it? Your boss is an acquaintance of mine. I'll have to talk with him about you," Garrick said. "No, I'm truly sorry. Please, anything but that." Marlon, the man referred to, half cried as he deeply apologized to Garrick. Seeing Marlon's pitiful state, Louise's face contorted with disillusionment. Then Leroy kicked him out, saying, "You two, get out of here." A few days later, Leroy filed for compensation from the two and finalized the divorce. Apparently, Marlon later exploded at Louise, saying, "I didn't know you had such a crazy husband. I got fired because of you. What are you going to do about this?" And they ended up breaking up. Louise, now alone and fired from her job, supposedly went back to her parents' house. However, "You've done something unforgivable." Her parents, already informed by Leroy, disowned her, leaving her without a place to go. Now she's working at a factory with lodging, trying to pay off the compensation. It wasn't supposed to be like this, she cried. As for us, after the terrible scene, we kicked the two out of the restaurant and ate the lavish meal Leroy had prepared for my 60th birthday. Honestly, I had lost my appetite after what happened, but they insisted. It's a waste not to eat it, and we want to celebrate Mom. So we celebrated. Bro, I'm sorry. Now that that foolish woman is gone, let's stop fighting. The three brothers reconciled. I want to continue watching over Garrick and these three from now on.